Hi, it's Danny with Words Are Matter. So, it's kind of cuckoo pants right now, and I know that one of the ways that a lot of this planetary intensity is currently expressing is through our relationships. And a lot of people are walking away from relationships that are no longer serving them, that are no longer an aligned fit. So, this is a video about how to take space from our friends and our relationships in a respectful way, how to communicate around that choice, which, let's face it, is not something we have a lot of great models for in our culture. It is a very healthy thing to move on from relationships that don't serve us. It happens naturally when people are growing and evolving, because we're not all growing at the same pace and going in the same direction at the same time. So very often friendships diverge. It doesn't mean that anyone has to be wrong or bad. It means that those components are no longer a coherent mix. My energy is no longer vibrating at a coherent frequency as friend X. So first and foremost, there's no need to find fault when separating from a friendship. I see this so often. The ego is trying to justify what is simply no longer a resonant field, which is totally normal. And yet what humans do is try to make the other person wrong or make the other person bad. So that involves talking about those people behind their backs and feeling the need to gather consensus around our stories about the other person, around the choice to demonize the other person, which is only ever a ruse that keeps us from looking at ourselves and taking our own responsibility 100% of the time. 1,000% of the time. Because even if friend X does something that is 1,000,000% out of integrity, it is my choice whether I'm going to allow that energy in or not. It's my task to decipher whether that energy or that behavior is in alignment with me, right? It's not about me judging them and what they're doing is bad. It's saying this isn't aligned for me in my field. I'm not choosing to have this around me. It doesn't work for me. So first and foremost is to not gossip about the friends who you're ending your relationships with, not go trash talking them to gain consensus around why you are right to not want to be their friend anymore. You don't have to do that. It's not about being right, and you don't need an excuse. If it's no longer resonant, if it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't serve you, then move on. But no harm, no foul, right? No blame here. No need to go trashing someone else's reputation and get other people who aren't in on it to generate their own negative feelings, which are not their own negative feelings, but they're being programmed by your retelling, by the meaning that you're making, by your completely non-objective retelling of the story, because none of us tell our personal stories objectively. It's not possible. And then allowing that information and that data to frame an opinion, which is super weird and creepy, and we don't need to roll like that. Like, rise above, vibe higher. Don't sell your friends / former friends, colleagues, family, whatever, down the river. Just move on with integrity. It's no longer a resonant fit. So that's the other piece, is to language it with neutrality, right? And to own your own experience. So it's not like he's a complainer who's driving me crazy, she's a drama queen, and she makes me lose my shit. Like, those are irrelevant, and no one has control over our emotions. It's about owning our experience of it. I am no longer aligned with this relatedness. And that is really key in communicating the choice to end a relationship or to put a pause on a relationship with the other person. Don't do the cowardly thing where you just don't respond to texts and emails and phone calls and you just hope it goes away and hope that the friend gets the message that you ignoring them translates to not wanting to be their friend. Don't roll like that. Be a mature adult. Gather your emotional intelligence and have the decency and the integrity and the compassion to tell the person that you are not aligned with your friendship or you are not aligned to talk to them. It's totally fine to take space, to need space, and to take that space before re-engaging a relationship that has a tendency to trigger you. That is fair game, but communicate that. Just send an email or a text saying, hey, I'm not in a place to talk to you about this right now. I'm not feeling solid or clear enough to have this conversation right now, so I'm taking a break. Let the other person know that you are walking away. Be compassionate, be kind, handle your shit. Don't just run away and shove your face in the ground and hope that you don't run into them at Whole Foods. Then you're living your life out of integrity, one eye over your shoulder, wondering when you're going to run into them and have to deal with that thing that you're not dealing with. No, deal with your shit like a grown-up with emotional intelligence. Let them know that you're not available. And this is the other piece, is when you're deciding to end a relationship, and I was just coaching someone about this last week, is that it's not a negotiation. You're not framing the decision as in we don't seem to be getting along, so we need to end this friendship, right? Because then you're including the other person and they think that they have a say in it, when the reality is when you decide that a relationship is toxic, it is on you to walk away because you're choosing yourself and you're choosing your alignment and your empowerment, whatever other factors are involved. So the key is to language it by taking ownership of your decision so that it doesn't get messy and entangled with the other person lobbying for you to change your mind. I also see this a lot in people who are breaking up with partners who they haven't wanted to be with in a long time. And then they'll language it in such a way that leaves these little openings for the other partner to think that they have a say, that this is still a negotiation. And then they don't break up. That couple is still together. And even though the person doesn't want to be there, they're waiting for this magical day when the other person is going to agree with them. Fuck that. That's codependence. That's not going to happen. So when you decide that you are done with the relationship, the key to communicating that as cleanly as possible, because it's not easy. It's hard to hurt someone's feelings, right? We're compassionate feeling beings, all of us, and it never feels good to tell someone that you don't want to be their friend anymore. You don't want to be their sister anymore. You don't want to be their girlfriend anymore. You don't want to be their wife anymore, their husband anymore, whatever. It doesn't feel good to be in that position. So the key is you got to rip that Band-Aid off and just do it really cleanly and just say, I am no longer aligned with this dynamic and I'm choosing to walk away from it, right? You take 100% responsibility. Whoever's doing the walking away claims responsibility. We're not blaming. We're not saying, you do this to me, you make me feel this way, you're a narcissist. None of that. It's just going to invite pushback and fight and entanglement. The key is owning your experience and getting a clean exit. So, another piece would be like, I look forward to the day where I can be in relationship with you and hold my center and maintain my self-confidence, and I'm not there yet. So I am going to walk away from this relationship right now. Clean, done, nothing else to talk about. So resist the urge to judge yourself for walking away from relationships right now, because it's happening all over the place. It's happening in my clients' lives. It's happening in my friends' lives. It's happening in my life. It's happening in my colleagues' lives. I'm seeing it all over the place. The key is it's fine. It's like a messy, blow up, crazy time on planet Earth, and it's fine. Roll with it. We're all part of this collective, and handle yourself and handle your communication and communicate clearly and compassionately, taking ownership of your experience and not leaving the person hanging and dangling and wondering if you're ever going to call or what they should do, or, just be cool about it. Be a good person. With all of this unraveling and destruction, let us handle ourselves with impeccability, with emotional intelligence, with integrity, and with compassion towards our fellow beings, because we're all going through it in our own ways. And even though we might not be aligned to go through it together, it doesn't mean that we can't bless and honor the other person's path with compassion and respect while choosing to not be in it. Thanks for paying attention. Thanks for remembering that every word matters, that you are omniscopic amazingness. Have a rockin' day. Mwah. When we're gathering consensus for our stories that frame our friends as do-batting perpetrators and ourselves as the innocent victims, we are victimizing ourselves. Don't do this. There's no need to victimize yourself to your friend's alleged evil doing just to get out of a friendship. You can just hold yourself with integrity and self-respect while holding your friend with integrity and self-respect, and just acknowledge that you're no longer vibrating at coherent, harmonious frequencies, and move on with your lives without creating drama, without creating stories, without trashing someone else's reputation, without creating bad blood among you and your friend slash former friend, and among your friend and all the other people who you would otherwise be gossiping and trash talking your friend to. Don't do that. It's not necessary to go mucking up our shared quantum field. You can just as easily gracefully step away from a friendship and handle yourself like a badass. It's just not necessary. Honor your friendships. Honor the time that you had together. You're not seeing clearly. You don't know. Whatever your story is that has you as 1,000% right and your friend is 1,000% wrong, I can guarantee is 1,000% wrong because you're not seeing clearly, and we are all blinded by our egos and our butthurt feelings and our blind spots and our unintegrated traumas and all of it. So given that none of us are going to see clearly who's at fault, who's wrong, who's to blame, who's shadows, it's not even a helpful conversation. The only helpful conversation is, where am I responsible? And sometimes we're responsible, and sometimes there's shit about ourselves to see a lot of the time, and other times it's just, this isn't working, this isn't resolvable right now, this isn't serving us right now, and let's move on and not trash the other people in the process or victimize ourselves and thus disempower ourselves in the process. Just own it. It's not a coherent dynamic right now. Ain't no thing.